All right. Hello, everybody. This is Peril on the Purple Planet, our first session of it. I'm very glad that I have this pop filter here because this game is going to be filled with plosives. Peril on the Purple Planet. It's a DCC adventure module. It is by Harley Stroh. But we're going to be running it a little bit adapted, and we're also going to be playing World of Dungeons to experience that. World of Dungeons is a hack by Jason Morningstar of Dungeon World, with a simplified, pared down rule set. Basically, the only move that's explicit in the book is basically akin to defy danger. So when you do something dangerous, risky, perilous, you roll plus a stat. We're going to go through character creation a little bit. But first, if you'd all like to introduce yourselves and share your pronouns, I really, really appreciate it. I'm Michael, by the way, GM, he, him.
I'm Daniel Fowler, he, him. Um,
I'm Patrick. He's good.
Hey, I'm Richard. He, him.
I'm Rob. He, him.
Oh, great! Excited to play with y'all. So yeah, the concept of this game I'll explain a little bit as well. The Purple Planet. It's a dying world filled with mutant barbarian hordes and their strange masters who rule over them. There's lots of crazy flora and fauna and things like that. And you're all going to be transported there from across time and space to kind of have to figure things out when you get there. I'm definitely aiming to have the game be run for 2.5 hours and then we'll cut. I want to make sure that everyone has time to share an epilogue and maybe kind of give some feedback or something like that and have enough time before your next game. If others have games coming up next, you won't have to worry about running late for those. So we'll see how far we get within that time period. And if we come to a satisfying conclusion, session 2 will be starting the adventure over again from square one. If not, we'll start from where you all left off, and we'll see where it goes from there. As far as tone goes, I mentioned this in the cast document I sent out, but I don't know if you all received that yet. The tone of this game, I'm going for something akin to like a sort of a false nostalgia. I'm really interested in the OSR movement, but I can't really connect to it on a personal level because I was not alive during the late 70s, when Dungeons and Dragons was first coming out, and that's something that really interests me. I want to see what that experience is like. So I've been listening to like Black Sabbath and heavy metal from that time. I read like some of the books from the Appendix N, the infamous Appendix N from Dungeons and Dragons, which is something that DCC really appeals to as well. So like A Princess of Mars and things like that, which also features people being transported to weird planets. And also art by Frank Frazetta, if you're familiar with that, the sort of like meaty barbarian with like a buxom woman, clinging to his ankle sort of thing. So that's sort of the tone we're going for. But the premise is a little comical if you think about it. The sort of people that might be thrown together in this situation, and the sort of extremities that are present. I'd like to start with something more serious, but if it starts to evolve into comically serious or satirical or goofy, I'm okay with that. But I think if we start off with grim, we're going to have more room, to go gonzo rather than starting there from the beginning. Subject matter, I want to cover that too. Inherent with the module are some themes of slavery, torture, body horror, things like that. So be prepared for those things. We do have the X card on the table. Is everyone familiar with the X card and how it's used? But just good to see. But the basic idea is if you come across some content that is objectionable to you, that you're uncomfortable with, you can throw up an X or type an X in the chat or just say X card, and we will cut that material out and move on from there and avoid that sort of topic. So if things get too uncomfortable, you have that available to you. But also some themes I would like to avoid. There's going to be alien racism, certain aliens treating other aliens racist. But I'd like to avoid throwing in references of real world racism. If you're playing a cowboy or something, I don't want you to be throwing out, real world racial slurs. I'd also see if we could try to avoid sexism, if that's possible. I know that's something that's inherent in a lot of the art of the time, and things like that. But that's a theme I kind of don't really want to play with today. Anybody else have any other things that they'd like to share now that we can avoid, or does that sound good? That's not the top of our heads. Okay. That's cool, and that's what the X card is for later too, if you need it. Cool. So first thing I want to do then is hop over to the character spreadsheet. If we look at that, we have spaces here for character name, player name, class, things like that. When you look at class, you're going to see lots of options. Those you can use, but they're also just kind of meant to be ideas. So if you have a different idea in mind, you can go ahead and choose it. Or if you want to add to it or whatever, that's cool with me. We'll talk about stat generation in a moment here. I guess we'll just cover it now. The basic way that you do it is 2d6 down the line. But what that really means is that you're going to roll 2d6 6 times. And depending on your results, you're going to get a bonus. So let me pop over to the dungeon or World of Dungeons rules real quick. On a 6 minus, the value for an attribute is 0. On a 7 to 9, the value is +1. On a 10 to 11, value is +2. If you get boxcars, value is +3. So I'm going to let you rearrange those however you like. So if you pop over to the roll for your party room, next to the D6 up there, you can type in the number 2 and hit submit, and it'll roll some dice for you. I'm going to go ahead and take off the background because it's going to be visually distracting. But cool, we're already seeing some dice here, and you can drag those around as well if it helps you. But just go ahead and do that and mark on your sheet whatever you are handing your attributes to. And if you have real dice you'd rather use, that's totally cool with me too.
Don't roll like this. Oh, come on.
We're going to be able to see now who the dice like and who the dice don't like. So get that out of the way.
I love systems where you get.
I
Sorry.
didn't roll above a 6 at all.
Lovely. Well, let's just say you got all the bad ones out of the way. wonder if they have a mulligan type rule here. Let me see. No, you're just unlucky. Well, that's fine.
So I'm a little bit ahead in character creation. The rules say you get an additional skill on top of the whatever your class gets you.
Yeah, so I'm starting off. I'm just going to have you each pick 2 abilities and 2 skills, and then halfway through we'll level up, quote unquote, and you can add 1 more of each of those. So skills, the way that they work, basically when you roll the dice and you have a skill that applies, you can't miss. So basically, a 6 is upgraded to a 7 to 9. 7 to 9 is upgraded to a 10. That makes sense. And I feel like now I'm saying this in a way that you all are familiar with what those terms mean. Have any of you played Dungeon World or World of Dungeons before?
Played Dungeon World, and yeah, I've run this before, sort of.
Both.
I played that.
I played Dungeon World, but not World of Dungeons.
Okay. So when I refer to partial success and 6 minus and things like that, you guys get that. Cool. Jumped the gun on that a little bit, but hey, it's okay. Yeah, so skills, when you pick one of those, if you do something that involves that, you can't fail. And you don't have to pick the ones that are listed there either. If you come up with something else, you totally can. Example, Patrick is playing Space Steve Irwin, which is awesome.
That's a rough title at the moment.
So if you have a skill like, wrestling or something like that, you cannot fail at wrestling, right? And abilities are kind of the same. If you click on the data tab on the bottom, you can look at all the stuff from the drop down. So, for example, here we see Zach Gunn, the Maverick Cop. He might use an ability like Volley, which means +2 range damage if he's really good with shooting a gun. Or if you look at something like where was it? Command, normally command is used to command any spirit, demon, or etc., but maybe command could be used to command a computer if you're like a scientist or something like that, right? So just let me know, and you can go ahead and change or type in whatever you want. You can change names, descriptions of abilities, whatever, but that's mostly there to make things easier for you. Welcome to CatCon 2017, the convention where you bring your cat. Hopefully, isn't blowing out the mic with her purring. Okay. Yeah, and I'll mention gear real quick too. We are starting technically at level 2, which just means you have a little bit more HP, hopefully. And I'm going to have you guys start with 100 silver pieces. Again, if you look at that data tab, you'll see on the far right column, there's examples of some of the gear from World of Dungeons. Again, you can kind of alter that as you see fit. You can call your bow a gun, or a pistol. Your adventuring gear, you could call it your, police procedural equipment or things like that. Your fancy item could be, your bucket hat or whatever, that protects you from the sun. Anything like that. But that's just some ideas to get you started. All right. That's enough out of you. Does anyone have any questions so far with their characters? Not yet. Let me know if you have any issues. You don't have to fill all your gear out right now if you don't want to. You can kind of come up with that as you need it. But I would look at your weapons and stuff like that in your armor, so we can put that up there. Fowler, you seem to have the right idea with damage. If you want to, next to the DAM cell, if you want to put in what damage your weapon does, and next to the ARM, if you want to put how much armor you have. Xenophonic entertainer. Okay.
Sounded slightly less dumb and more fancy.
Well, you're gonna find some fauna. That's for sure. So for rolling HP, since you're level 2, you have you're going to be able to keep 2 dice, and you're going to roll a number of dice equal to your level plus your con bonus. So, Patrick, you're going to roll 3 dice and keep 2. Everybody else, you roll 2, and that's what your current HP is. Yeah, HP is kind of weird with World of Dungeons. So what you roll, and that's kind of what you have right now. And then when you rest and recuperate, you're going to roll again and hopefully improve.
Do we have an extra hit dice if we're level 2 to our HP?
Yeah, so you have 2 hit dice.
Okay.
So I see magic requires summoning spirits, and
No, maybe.
So
Maybe for you. Maybe not for somebody else, I'll say.
with like cure and vision. Well, vision says I drink holy water to do it. Well, in this case, I'm switching that to holy book and pen.
Sure. So you write in your holy journal. Cool.
Write or read from. But cure just says I can attempt. So does that just mean I can make the roll?
Yeah. And when you make the roll, I guess that's just an opportunity for someone to re-roll their hit dice.
I think I'm pretty much done.
Cool. Do you have a name for your character?
Yeah, I thought I put that in.
How much silver did you say we start with?
Fergus.
60?
We're going to go with 100.
Okay. All right. So I'll call a heavy gun. No, actually.
So I think for a heavy gun, the sort of caveat would be that it would take both hands, and you'd have to be stationary when using it. So, like,
Yeah. So that's more like a rifle or something.
yeah. That's going to be interesting. How much ammunition you have. I think we're going to just handle that narratively. We'll kind of see.
Nope, it's not on the paper. All guns are unlimited.
Yeah. Well, we'll see what happens on a hard move. Click, click, click.
Yeah.
It's funny how cheap actual human assistants are.
Hmm.
You know, a dagger is 10 silver, but you can get 5 guys to carry torches for that price. They need a better union.
And then you can just take their knives. I don't think they would like that.
Yeah, the champion's full armor pays for itself. You also get a halberd, sword, and shield and dagger in the mix.
Hmm.
You just gotta murder him.
Might affect your reputation as an adventuring party. Might make it hard to get some repeat employees. They might not like your healthcare plan. Cool. So, how's everyone liking Roll for Your Party? Is that making sense for you? Cool. Yeah, I like it, except that I'm using a Mac and it doesn't let me drag dice around. But
Oh, that's weird.
I'm the Dungeon World GM. I don't have to roll dice, so I don't have to worry about it.
Have you tried it on your phone?
Yeah, it works. It works better on my phone, but small screen and big fingers. So I did bring my tablet in case I need to do anything like that. But okay.
I think I'm done.
Wow, we got some detailed people here. Very cool. Shielded sleeves. I like that. Cool. And Richard, do you have a name for your character as well? I think that's the last bit I need. Font. So here's the current plan. We're going to describe what it looks like as you transport to this crazy place, and then I'm going to have you describe what your character was doing right before you got there. So I don't put you on the spot. I'll kind of narrate that a little bit for you. So find yourself falling down this tunnel, but there don't seem to be any walls. You're just surrounded by swirling colors and noises. You hear children laughing and people crying and things like that. You feel like you're falling for a long time. You see strange people here in this tunnel with you, and then you crash with a thud on a stone floor. And around you is a ring of green flames that rise around you and then slowly recede, leaving you in a dark gray room. But let's go with Wester. What were you doing right before you found yourself in this predicament?
So I think given that I have like an adventuring gear pack and my animal traps and stuff, I think I was out on a hunt for a new species. And I think sort of, because like I said, sort of that Steve Irwin idea. So he's not like a full-on wild, empty places explorer. He more goes for the exotic things in sort of explored places. So he does have like extraplanetarian and sort of wilderness knowledge, but it tends to be in slightly more controlled situations. But he was out on a planet, I think, hunting down a rare insect that he'd heard about that he wanted to take around and use to sort of highlight his next tour around.
Cool. And could you describe Wester's appearance for us a little bit?
So he's about 5'9", nice solid build and very tan skin, and generally goes around in like khaki safari clothes. He's got his big pack with him, and I think a like green and blue striped mountain lion type creature with him. Sasha.
Awesome. Yeah, so how big is Sasha?
Mountain lion, so like large dog size.
Okay, cool.
Not quite full up panther tiger size.
How do you communicate with Sasha?
So I have the wild ability to converse and attempt to command animals. So I think as just a part of this his space future sort of timeline, I think maybe he has like a light cybernetic enhancement to his vocal cords. That sort of like seek out the right frequencies and tones to calm down animals and make them trust him. So, it's got sort of a database of ones that he's run across, but he's gotten really good at seeking out the right tones and frequencies for new animals. It just takes him a few minutes.
Awesome. Yeah, I love it. Wester and Sasha. Cool. Rob, tell us about Zach Gunn.
So Zach is so you want me to tell you what he was doing first, or
what he was doing right before he found himself being teleported to a strange planet?
He was on a foot chase. He was chasing down part of a robbery crew. They just he just broken up an attempted robbery and was chasing one of the thugs down an alleyway, and passed through some sort of portal on his way there.
Yeah. Now, he is a maverick cop, right? So what was he prepared to do to this thug if he caught him?
He was gonna beat the crap out of him.
Okay.
And just pull him back to the rest of the guys, unless they try to shoot him, in which case you just take his kneecaps out.
All right. Well, that tells us a little bit about Zach. Could you describe Zach's appearance for us as well?
Zach he's got sort of scruffy, dark hair, along, it's a beard that's, it's got to the stage where it's getting to be an actual beard, but he hasn't bothered taking care of it very well. So
Maverick.
Yeah.
Cool.
Probably sort of. I'm trying to think of an actor that would. Let's say Keanu Reeves-ish sort of guy.
Ooh. Very cool. Very cool. And Vaunt, the thief. What do we find Vaunt up to?
I think Vaunt had been just getting to a local tavern to sort of celebrate a very big score that he had just fenced. He was kind of flush with cash, and had just put a good bit of money into the inn safe when somebody came up from behind him and tried to sort of grab his arm and take the money, and then punched him. Vaught kind of tumbled, fell down some stairs into the tavern basement, and that's how he found himself continuing to fall.
Okay. And Vaunt's appearance.
Vaunt has, I guess, typical 17th, 18th century tailored clothes, but they're made of leather because he's a thief, and he's often robbing people, and they sometimes try to stab or shoot you when you do that.
I've heard of that.
And then, but he has a rakish grin and tousled hair, and despite being a thief, he's more charisma than anything.
Fair enough. And finally, Fergus.
Fergus is a traveling scholar, sort of a priest of Elsprog, who is a god of travel and exploration and adventure. He's straight out of fantasy, medieval times. Getting old, but still fit, and fiery red hair. And basically is thrilled to write things down and find new places, or new things, try new experiences. He's going to be thrilled to be here and everything.
Well, we'll see how long that lasts. What was Fergus up to right before he found himself being teleported?
He was with a band of other adventurers that had just interrupted a ritual to summon a crocodile god. And after that fell apart, he was standing in the river near the middle of the ritual, and he just got pulled under, and then it became this colorful tunnel, and now he's here.
Yes, and here we all are. The green flames recede around you. You're in a small, dark gray floors and ceiling and walls. The air in here it's like fetid and old and stale. You feel yourself choking on it. As you look around, you see even around the room there's some corpses. Some of them are humanoid, some of them are humanoid-ish, all very strange. And there's a staircase to your right that goes down, and from there you see some dim lighting, and then a staircase to your left that goes up. But
are we all together?
You are all together, all of a sudden, in this room. What do you all do?
If the room is choking us and there's bones everywhere, I would move towards the exit. Was there a choice of exits or just one?
Staircase to your right goes down with dim light. Staircase to your left goes up.
Dim light.
Okay. So you're heading that way. You all see this weird older gentleman with bright red hair going that way. What are you doing? The rest of you.
I'm
Who
following the guy who seems to know where he's going.
did what's happening? Did who brought us here? Who brought me here?
I'll go down the
who are
same
you?
way everybody else is. All right. What's going on here? Who are you people?
And you're noticing that you can all understand each other despite the fact that you're wearing very strange clothing and things like that and carrying odd, shiny things. You can all understand each other, so that's an interesting thing to note.
I don't know. I was hunting through the jungle, and then I fell through a sinkhole, and this does not look like the bottom of a sinkhole.
This is the tavern basement. This is the tavern basement, right?
I was in the river in the woods. I don't imagine this is any tavern basement.
Well, I mean, to be fair, it looks a lot closer to whatever a tavern basement looks like than a jungle or a river.
Was chased a peril down a back alley.
So
Is that creature tame?
What? Sasha is sweet and very sociable. She's great with children. You should see her.
I do not appreciate being asked if I'm tame.
Wait, what?
Have we moved out of the choking room?
As you approach this lower staircase, the air gets even heavier and harder to breathe. You almost have to hold your breath, but the breath that you're holding in is the ancient breath of an alien world that's been here closed for 1,000 years. As you step into this room, though, you do see a small pedestal in the middle of the room, and on top of it is a green orb about the size of looks kind of like a bowling ball almost, right? But it's the light coming from within is very dim, and you can tell that the surface is cracked. And beyond it, you can see the outline of a chair or perhaps a throne, but it's hard to see from this far away.
I don't like this
Any
basement
other exits
alley
in
river.
here? Are there any other exits in here, or is it just this room?
This room has no exits. It just goes the other staircase.
Let's go up.
Yes, we fell into this place. We clearly should go up.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
Pulling my shirt and my collar up, I'm going to quickly pull out my journal and sketch this throne room and the orb. And I am calling this a use of holy water.
Grab him by the neck and drag him.
I want to. If that's happening, I'm going to try to resist it. I want to use the ability Vision to get guidance from my deity.
Okay.
Assuming that works on an alien planet.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your deity.
Elsprog is a god of exploration and storytelling. So, basically, he'd be really good with birds or heroic adventures. He wants you to, record things and bring it back and write it down.
Okay.
And he's very knowledgeable. Because of this, he's very knowledgeable. He generally, if you can gain access to him or his library, you can find out a lot about a lot of subjects.
So as you commune with your god Elsprog, and you are being dragged, you're not really in control of your body anymore. It's just your hand scribbling madly. So you've drawn the pedestal and the orb, but then your hand starts to move of its own accord, and the rest of the drawing you see is a sort of a noble-looking figure who's sits on a throne, and the way you're drawing it almost looks like a spirograph or something, like it's like the pages are flipping, so it's almost like it's animated, right? And this man comes and sits on this throne, and this orb lights up very brightly, and he leans his head back and opens his mouth wide, and hundreds of these silver strings like leap from his mouth out through the ceiling. But then as your graph keeps spinning, you see his body slowly decay and turn into a corpse, and the strings start to fade and reduce in number until you're just left with a skeleton.
I was seconds away from running for that throne.
And we're going to pause real quick because it looks like we might have lost we lost somebody temporarily. Patrick, I think.
Yeah. It
Might
looks
have
like we
been
lost Patrick.
disconnected.
Well,
Sorry, my internet just decided it didn't want to be a thing.
That's okay. That happens. So did you hear a little bit of our vision from Fergus?
No, it cut out just as that was starting.
So what he sees is a man who comes and sits on this throne. Silver strings erupt from his mouth, but then he slowly decays and turns into a corpse, and the strings start to disappear.
Whoa.
That is your vision. But yeah, so you're back in the central room where you came. You can kind of still see this ring that was there before, like this sort of charred outline where the flames were. And there's a staircase that goes up.
I imagine we're headed up.
Yeah. So
And
as you
I'm
go
gonna
up,
stop struggling.
Come on, kid. We don't have time for you to draw.
Yeah, I am not interested in journaling my feelings right now.
There's a door here. It looks like a sliding door with these two stone slabs put together. It's sort of at an angle like this at you, sort of 45 degrees. Next to the staircase is what appears to be a panel of these strange runes. There's like 6 different runes, very dimly lit, really strange shape. But they look as like panels or buttons that they could be depressed or something like that.
Well, that makes sense. I pushed the one that looks most like the door open symbol. You know, the sort of universal, like, open elevator.
Arrows.
Arrows going the opposite direction.
Yeah, that.
Yeah. Well, it turns out that's the open button.
Hey.
So keep that in mind.
It opens the pit below us.
I'm not interested in keeping you in this dank tomb for too long. So the slabs creak open. You know, they seem to have not been in use for a long period of time. They sort of grind and crunch. But as they open, fresh alien air fills your lungs. You can finally breathe again.
Fresh, breathable alien air.
Fresh, breathable alien air.
Way better.
Yes.
Oh, good. Helium.
And light comes in. Being in a dark place, it's pretty bright, but your eyes adjust to it very quickly. It's actually sort of a dim, kind of, evening light almost. Yeah, doors are open.
Stumbling outside, like, look around. What is it? Obviously not wherever we're from. I mean, like, are there 3 moons in the sky?
Oh boy, are you telling me? Three moons is the first thing you see. A red sky, but it's almost overwhelming as you come up. The vista before you see a desert of purple sands, violet rolling dunes. You see a range of mountains with green lightning striking their peaks. You see a forest off in the distance, but it's all these different colors, right? And you realize that you are standing atop of a old pitted pyramid.
I don't believe this is any place I've ever been.
I'm just gonna assume that like this does not sound like any planet I know.
I mean, well, what do you think? Do you have any way of checking a catalog of information or anything like that, or are you familiar with this at all? Uh-oh.
Wester's been on a lot of hunts on presumably on other planets.
Yes, he has, but he also seems to have frozen. Oh boy. We're going to go ahead and assume that you don't, because this is a weird place. And you're standing on top of this pyramid, and in close to you, you see a banner is stuck into the ground with a pile of rocks forming the base for it. It's sort of like a tan-colored banner. It's supported by a shiny metal post. And as you stand there, you see in the distance a cloud of dust and sand is sort of coming closer and closer to where you are. Let's pause again and see if we can get a hold of Patrick before we go any further. Is that okay?
All right, I'm gonna switch chairs. This one's getting uncomfortable.
Yeah, and you know what?
I'm gonna turn my light on.
Patrick.
So that's not getting annoying at all.
That's all right. Yeah, so Daniel is going ahead and grabbing a different chair, but we determined, Patrick, that you probably aren't familiar with this planet, despite your wide-ranging interstellar travels. But what you see in front of you immediately is a banner stuck into the ground, supported by a pile of rocks and a shiny metal post. It's sort of a tan-colored banner there, and a cloud of sand and dust kicking itself up is on the way towards you. So what do you all do?
Are there any other structures? Maybe we should seek shelter.
It's not a bad idea. No structures you can see.
This seems so completely foreign to me that I'm just baffled. And apologies if I'm asking for a repeat detail I may have missed. Is there any place we could maybe take shelter away from the tomb in the landscape? I'm used to breaking into people's houses and carriages and robbing them on the open road. I'm not used to hanging out with dead bodies.
Yeah. I think the person who would be best equipped to answer that question would be Wester.
Okay.
Yeah, so I have like my adventuring gear pack, which has some like quick things to set up a tent. So really all I need is just like a sort of overhang of rock or a tree fall or something, and I can make us something quick and small to ride out this storm in at least.
So you have a skill in survival. I would like for you to roll 2d6 plus, I'm going to call this wisdom. This is just for you to determine a place that could serve as shelter for you. And you can't fail, but depending on your results, we'll see.
Oh, it's not a good start. It's a 6, 7 total, and that the skill bumps it up a level.
Yeah, so that's a complete success.
Nice.
So you're going to see two options that you could choose from, places that could provide shelter. One, the forest in the distance. It looks like there's a lot of cover there. You could probably make a makeshift sort of shelter camp or something like that. And when you look off to the mountain range, in the foothills, you see there's lots of these sharp, rocky ridges that are coming up, almost like fins out of the sand. You could probably find something overhanging for you there that could provide shelter for you. But while you're sort of, cruising, scoping out the landscape, If I look at your sheet, you might even have like a spyglass, so you're probably even able to see it from a distance. This cloud of sand has gotten closer, and you see now. It's hard to make out the details, but it looks to be like a mob of humanoids. They have like a gray, pallid skin and like a shock of blonde hairs, as far as you can tell. And you hear them sort of like roaring and yelling, and they're running straight towards this banner in front of you. Now you have a little bit of cover. There's some stone pillars here that you could maybe hide behind. But, with you see what's coming towards you now, I'd like to know what you do.
When you say a mob, like how many roughly can we see, or is it obscured by the storm?
It's a little bit obscured by all the sand they're kicking up, but if you want to hang around and kind of see how many there are, might want to find a place to hide.
I'm not sure I want to hang around now.
Of the forest or those rock ridges, A, which one's closer, and B, which one is maybe further away from those approaching people?
You tell me. I think you have a good eye on the situation.
I think maybe those ridges are closer, but that's how they're coming.
Okay. Yeah. So they're almost running from that ridgy area, from that what are we calling that? The broken hills. But yeah, that forest is a little bit of a longer trek. But you don't see.
Can we tell if they're close enough that they probably have spotted us, or would spot us if we leave or investigated that banner?
Well, I would probably ask the person among you who's the most stealthy.
Could you repeat that question again, Daniel?
Do you think they've spotted us? And would they? If not, would they see us if we ran from the temple or investigated that banner?
Can I make just a basic wisdom check but add stealth?
Sure, go for it.
Just to kind of see if it's a doable job.
Yeah, and this is part of your stealth skill, so
awesome. That is a 9.
Okay, so that's a full success.
Okay.
Yes, you do have enough room to hide here. They haven't quite seen you yet. They seem very intent on the banner itself. But if you do stick around, right, you are spending more time, it'll be a little bit harder for you to run. So if you wanted to hide long enough to watch, you could see, but then you'd have to find a way to kind of maneuver around them after.
I whisper to the others, they don't seem to be coming for us. And when I was looking, they don't seem to be headed in the direction of the temple itself, right? They're going towards the banner.
Right.
Okay.
Which is at the base of this.
Right. They are going right. But they're not. They don't look like right now they're angled to like
glass
storm the temple.
Wester to observe that banner.
Sure. Yeah. Let me take a look at that and see if I can see any details on it.
Yeah. So I mean, I'll just give that to you. The pole that's being used to support it, you realize it's not just a standard pole. It has like a handle on it and even what looks like a trigger mechanism. But it's just being used as a pole for now. And the part of the banner you can see, it's actually not canvas or anything. It looks to be like tanned hide. And it has sort of dyes on it to make this sort of what's that, crest, so to speak, right, of a certain color. And while you're looking at that banner, your spyglass can see that this other group that's running also has a banner, also made of hide, that has that same sort of a different shaped crest, but that same sort of form?
I don't know. It looks like some sort of harpoon gun that they've turned into a flagpole. It's idiotic, but this almost sounds like a game I know. Look, if we're gonna, we can lose them in the trees over there, but we're running out of time.
I think retreat is the safer, wiser option here.
All right. I'm getting my pistol ready, but I'm ready to follow Wester or anybody else who makes a search for the trees. I think we can hide here, but we have more options if we hide in the trees.
Also, I may not know what a harpoon gun is.
Yeah, I'll definitely start leading the way that way with whoever follows.
So, you since you haven't stuck around, you have enough time to sort of slink away and slide down the opposite side of this pyramid. And you can kind of circle around this group as you want. And as you circle around, you see that behind this banner, another group of these brutes actually jumps out of the sand, and they've been hiding in pits there, right? And they sort of ambush this other group that's come, and they're battling over this banner, and they're like, it's not a game, as it becomes pretty apparent. This is a battle. And they seem to be armed with like stone weaponry, clubs and spears and sort of things that are, kind of cobbled togetger.
Oh, that is not the rules I remember.
Yeah.
This is some form of entertainment from your lands?
This may be not what I was thinking of.
Yeah. But you leave them behind, and you're going on this trek, so to speak. And you feel as you're walking along, right, the heat from the sun it feels like it's sapping your energy, right? This weird red sun laying low in the sky with this haze over it. You feel fatigued more than you do, in any other sunny condition. But I'm going to ask a few questions here just to get to know you all a bit more and explore the world a little bit. I'm going to start with you, Fergus. What about what you've seen from this planet lets you know that it is doomed?
Well, I mean, the people using rocks as weapons is a big tip-off. I mean, obviously, whoever built this pyramid and the man I saw in my vision, seems to have died out, and it's been degraded. I've seen like barbarian lands, and this is worse. Like even barbarians are normally killing each other with rocks, I think this land is just dying. It looks awful.
Okay. Let's go with Wester. So you're going to the shelter provided by this forest, and as you get closer to it, you see that it's not a forest made of trees, but of various mushrooms. Right? Some are very tall, some are more squat. Right? It's still a little bit off. But how do you know that this mushroom forest is the lesser of two evils when it comes to shelter?
I think as we're going in, there's like as we're approaching the forest, there's lots of animal sounds in it, especially like large, scaly, slithering, sort of reptilian type sounds in and amongst the mushrooms. But as we get closer and as we get into the sort of edge there, they don't seem instantly aggressive. Like they seem to be sort of backing off and keeping a distance from us as we're making noise coming in, but they're definitely not running away. You can still hear them sort of at a perimeter.
Very good. You come across some scavengers that are picking away at the remains of what appears to have been a battle here, right? Vaunt, they scurry away as soon as they hear you and see you. But what were they scavenging? What were they looking for in particular?
I think they were looking for bits of actual flesh left on these rather scrappy and thin looking corpses.
Yeah, absolutely.
Things that were actually edible.
And finally, Zach, coming upon these remains, right? Using your police knowledge, what is so savage about the method of death, the cause of death of these remains?
Were cut. It looks like they were torn apart, like just by mean strength. It's not a clean wounds. It's all ragged and messy.
Yeah, for sure. Well, here you are in this forest, and honestly, it's starting to feel more like a jungle. Various levels of mushrooms and all the, you have to wade through this brush. It's very humid here, as opposed to the dryness of the desert. But you have an opportunity to make shelter here, as much as you could. Is that what you'd like to do? Is this at your this opportunity, or do you have other things in mind?
Can we still spy what's going on with those two groups that were coming towards each other?
I think you're too far away now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of us does have a spyglass.
Mm.
But if we're like inside the jungle, then probably not.
Yes.
Yeah.
Has the terrain shifted too much for us to get a line on them?
At this point, if you were at the edge of the forest, you might be able to see a cloud of dust. Would be about all you'd have access to.
If we're going to take shelter, I recommend we go a bit further away from this area.
Seems wise. If any of these trees are edible, we won't starve.
How do we find out if they're edible?
And there's a lot of trial and error involved.
That sounds unpleasant.
Yeah, maybe we want to start with something a bit more naturally friendly than fungus.
You can see if any of them have been. I look around to see if any of them have been like chewed upon.
Okay. Yeah, sure. And as you're taking notes, Fergus, you're noticing there's like definitely over 20 different kinds of mushrooms here, right? You've taken detailed notes on each little one. But if you want to see something,
I will name this one the Fergus fungus.
why don't you roll 2d6 plus intelligence for me, and we'll see if we can find a nice edible one.
That is a 6. Does anyone want to help me out? Or is there 8 in this game?
You tell me. What would that look like?
I don't know. Someone grabbing me and saying, "No, not that one. Look at the bones."
Well, you are at a loss. You find some that are chewed upon. You find some that are chewed upon their bones, some that don't. It's hard to say which is edible and which is not. And in fact, you're inspecting a particular mushroom when you start to hear some of those animal sounds go quiet.
Mm.
This once chirping and slithering and slurping forest has now gone oddly quiet.
Wester
Probably not
perks
a good
up and
sign.
starts looking around.
That's never a good sign.
Yeah, I move towards the tougher looking people in our party. Maybe we should make a fire.
Maybe Sasha, why don't you go take a look, see what's out there, see what's following us. And I want to sort of send her out to slink around and get a view on things.
Okay. Well, let's see here. She slinks away. Right. You hear her rustling, and then things go quiet. And then you hear her coming back very quickly. And she's returned to you, and she's nudging you like it's time to go.
Yeah, as I hear her start running back, like I've got my rifle out. I'm sort of aiming it over where she's coming from, keeping an eye out for anything that might be following her.
Okay. Well, you managed to, thanks to your pet, this creature has not gotten the drop on you. But you see these giant mushroom stalks start to part and crumble and fall apart right off, a good 30 feet away. And then from out of the ground comes a giant tubular shaped snake worm thing that has rows of teeth in a circle, and it's coming up, and it looks hungry.
Like
I just
What the hell is that?
that's what we're running from. As I look down at my rifle, which I thought was fairly large a moment ago, I'm like, get out of here!
How giant is it? Like, could it swallow us whole, or is it like a big anaconda?
Yeah,
so it moves and breathes.
Its mouth is 10 feet in diameter.
Oosh.
Oh,
It could swallow several of us whole.
I'm running.
yeah, let's run.
Yeah.
We all run? Okay, cool. Let's see. Let me get rolls from each of you, dexterity, as you sort of navigate your way through this dense jungle, to see if you manage to.
I'm good at that.
Maybe if I had a rocket launcher.
I got an 8.
I got
I
an
got an
11.
Now, is anyone using their skills here at all? In any way?
Deception's not really going to help me right now.
Well,
Leadership, I seem like I know what I'm doing when I'm trying to get people out of here.
Okay, so we have 7, 8, 11, and 6, we said?
Mm-hmm.
So
who got
with
6?
with your leadership skills, I think you'd be able to save one person from imminent death.
Who got the 6?
I think that was Fergus.
No, I got an 8.
I got a 5 actually, but it's I've got.
So you could help out Zach.
Yeah, I'd give my leadership to Zach there.
Okay. So you managed to put them off for now, without anyone being extremely hurt. But you have become separated in your mad dash. And you see this worm doesn't know which one of you to follow. I'm going to roll a die of fate to see whom he goes after.
I like the idea that leadership might imply that you're ahead of the group, so thus you're surviving.
As long as you're not the
survival.
slowest, right? Does someone want to roll a d6 for me and let me know, or a d?
I'll do that. Oh, someone there. It keeps deselecting die.
Yeah, I don't know why it keeps doing that.
I found it was worse.
I rolled a 1.
A 1. Okay, well that means that this worm is coming across the pair of Wester and Zach. So it's coming down on you, and as it gets closer, you see it has these four paddles, almost like antenna, and it's trying to like use these to draw you into its mouth. I think it's coming across Zach first because he was, slightly behind Wester.
Well, I'm gonna shoot one of those antennas.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead and roll to keep your aim. Let's go with dexterity.
Okay. It's a 6.
Oh. Okay. Well, let's look at your. Well, you haven't done a very good job. This thing comes across you, and it's going to do 1d6 damage as it's beating you with these antennae, trying to, you know, beat you into submission, so it's easier for it to eat you. You're still maintaining consciousness, I imagine, but it has you in its grip now. This is a great opportunity for you to put some distance between yourself and the prey here, Wester. What are you going to do?
Well, I didn't get him out of the last scrape just to have him immediately get eaten. And I don't think my trank gun can do much to take him down overall right now. But those tentacles, he had a good idea, and maybe if I can numb some of those, it'll lose its ability to keep us back. Maybe freak out some. So yeah, I'm gonna aim up at its tentacles too, like where they attach to the body.
Okay. Go ahead and roll dexterity for me.
This is definitely gonna go great.
Do we get experience for 6 minuses?
I think normally you do, but we're just going to level up halfway. So.
All right.
I got a 6.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Vaught, I think we were the lucky party.
You can still manage to, numb some of these tentacles and paddles, right? But you're not going to be able to do it with your tranquilizer alone. You're going to need help. If Sasha went up and grabbed onto one of those paddles, she might be able to pry him loose, but she's not going to last very long if you do that.
No, she's got great training. She can get in there, just hold it still long enough for me to get a couple of good shots. It'll start to weaken. We can all run.
Okay. Well, that's what you command her to do. And she does manage to grab a paddle, and you shoot one with a dart, and it's screaming and screeching in response, right? It's not too happy. You have a moment to kind of pry yourself out of there, Zach, and get away. And you're going to be able to regroup. But, yeah, you're whistling with your cybernetic vocal cords for Sasha, and no response. She's not coming back. So let's take a quick bio break. We're gonna, do about 5 minutes, so we can all grieve for our really cool blue and green striped mountain lion who's passed on. And then we'll come back and figure out our plan. How's that sound?
All right.
I'm gonna get me a fungus worm.
Yes.
You. Wonder how much amazing alien technology we left behind in that temple.
The cure for world hunger was actually in there. If
Yeah.
you'd just gone to that throne.
So making some of my abilities dependent on holy water is sort of interesting. I've got to be really careful when I choose to use that vision. Otherwise, I have to find some other source of holy water. In this case, pen and paper, I guess.
I think it'd be possible for you to, jury rig something together, use some ink
If I
from a
found an
mushroom,
alien book, that'd be cool.
right? Or I think their books are mostly just, written on the hides of their enemies, sort of thing. But if you consecrated it to
like an ancient
God,
alien book. I mean, I'm hoping the guys who built the ziggurat are not quite on the same level.
You might be right.
It'd be funny though if I was like ancient. Now I have a holy DVD player. Yeah, instead of a holy book.
Right. Yeah. I just Snapchat my God now.
Hey, Wester. Since you introduced your character, or Pat, I should say Patrick. Since you introduced Wester, I'm wondering. You said you were looking for an alien bug. So I'm wondering, like, on a good or bad roll, what do you think the chances are it's going to crawl out of your pack?
Man,
like in the middle of wrestling the alien overlord, like it's gonna crawl out of the pack, crawl across someone's face.
That's a great callback, Fowler. I love that.
Oh no, the hyper deadly Aster tarantula.
Oh no.
And Sasha died off screen, so maybe there's some potential that we'll find her later, or beat up later.
Oh, I fully believe that we can find zombie Sasha later.
Mm.
When we level up, do you like choose a new ability from inside the class package you were in, or how's that going to work?
I'm going to leave that totally up to you. If you've learned something new from your experience on the planet, you could say, well, now I've learned to do XYZ. If you feel like you've become a better xenophonic entertainer and think that's related to that.
Okay.
Does that imply gaining an ability or skill?
You get one of each.
Oh.
Yeah, so we're leveling up, everybody. Richard, Robert.
Okay, we're going to go and do that now.
Mm-hmm.
So you get +1 skill, +1 ability.
Yes. So any skill you like, any new ability you like. And we're also going to call this a time of rest. So if you'd like to, you can re-roll your hit dice. However, due to the nature of the weirdling sun, right, it's kind of exhausting you a little bit. So when you roll your hit dice, it's going to be at disadvantage. And what I'm going to have that mean is you roll an extra die, but you have to pick the two lowest of however many you roll, whether that's 3 or 4.
Aren't we, if we're level 3, aren't we keeping 3 dice now?
I think you're muted, Richard. Oh, that's correct. Yeah, you're right. You get an extra hit die now.
Actually, you don't get an extra hit die at 3rd level because you get a skill and an extra ability.
Well, I think
Is that how it works?
the impression I got was you get, like, on those hit dice, you get extra dice to roll, but then under the paragraph it says you keep a number equal to your level.
Okay.
Right. Keep it under equal to your level. So you can keep 3, but they're all going to be the lowest.
Okay.
Because you had not yet sussed out the means of surviving under the weirdling sun.
I was rolling really well until that last one.
Oh my. I have a lot more hit points.
Yeah, I did well. Even at disadvantage, I did fairly well on that reroll. So
I rolled 6, 6, 5, 1.
Hey, that's not bad. What are you up to now, Zach?
Sorry, up to what?
So roll 4, keep the lowest 3.
So I picked for my new ability is cantrips. I know 3 simple magical powers: candle, shadow, and throw voice. I'm going to get so much use out of throw voice. But I'm wondering what shadow is. Like, is that create darkness, or is that like doing something with someone's shadow?
You tell me. Those both sound cool.
Well, I'll figure that out when it becomes apparent.
Sure.
and
So yeah, I think this world has impressed its danger on me, where I'm used to, like I said, a lot more tame places. So I'm picking up scout to spot targets before they spot you, and awareness to help out with that.
Cool.
I've taken what was it? Slay, so I get +2 to melee damage if I attack something at melee.
Okay. Well, that might be what your pistol ends up after a while.
I took Tinker,
Okay.
and added the skill athletics.
Nice.
Good, very good. Very thiefish. Okay.
So we had a heal roll or something, did we?
Yeah, so you're gonna re-roll. So you're gonna roll 4 dice and keep the lowest 3, and that's because of the weirdling sun fatiguing you throughout the day. Can't really get as much rest as you'd like.
I'll just use these purple ones here. So, that's a 2, 2, a 1, and a 3.
You really aren't doing well here, are you, Rob? Yeah, you got 5 HP though, so that's something.
Right.
And then you have your hardy, so you always get 6 extra, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
Good point.
Just isn't agreeing with you.
It can't go above my max though, can it?
No, so that's your new max, so to speak.
All right. So 5.
Now, if you weren't dying under a dying sun, I probably wouldn't make you reset your HP to lower than it is. But this is also kind of expressing your endurance and things like that. Okay, so you've all managed to escape from this giant toothed worm beast. You've had a chance to recuperate. You're a little bit closer to the other edge of this jungle now, so you might be able to see out a little bit more. While you've been sort of resting and recuperating, I'd like to hear from each of you. One thing that one of your fellows did that was endearing, and one thing that they did that was annoying. And so name one person who did something endearing, name one person who did something annoying.
And have we found our way back together at this point?
Right.
Gotcha.
Let's see. I think Vaunt drugged me out of the basement, which I find enduring more than annoying.
That was me.
That was, I think that was Zach.
Oh, was that? I thought it was the thief. All right.
Vaughn's a large believer in free will.
Still a cop. What was that, Richard? Sorry, I didn't mean to.
I said Vaughn was a big believer in free will, so he would never drag you out of some place you wanted to be.
So, did you see someone else, Vaughn, who was also, demonstrating their love of free will, or? This could be. You could add new fictional details.
It was pretty endearing that Wester went back for Zach. That showed a certain loyalty that I think is valuable in these survival situations, because we need more people rather than fewer.
Yeah. So that you have more bait.
Right. Exactly. You don't have to be the fastest. You just have to be slower than. You have to be a little bit faster than somebody, and the more people that are back there, the more people between you and the monster.
Very good.
I'm annoyed that Wester didn't let me use his spyglass.
You can keep being annoyed, buddy. It's a very finely calibrated piece of equipment here.
I was so close to just running down there to look at it.
I think maybe after we escaped from that worm thing, and I was obviously really upset about Sasha, I think maybe Zach gruffly and begrudgingly shared some a flask and a little bit of backslapping sympathy sort of thing, and I appreciate that he obviously broke out of his persona enough to do that at least.
Yeah. Well, being a maverick cop, I'm sure you've lost a partner or two.
Yeah. It's like and I also found it endearing that Lester, like he didn't just leave me behind. He actually had his, you know, his, as far as I know, his best friend, try and help distract the thing while we escaped.
Yeah, that's a pretty selfless move.
Mm.
So, who'd you see doing something annoying?
Me.
And this could be a new fictional thing you introduced to, you know.
Fergus, drawing all the time.
Yeah, I feel like you might receive a couple of these here, Fergus.
Actually, I'm vaguely annoyed that Wester. I'm used to being the person that knows the situation and take great pride in being the person who knows the situation. I'm vaguely annoyed that Wester seems to know more about mushrooms and giant mushroom forest and fighting off, snake monsters than I do.
I
He's a
love
lot
that
more
you're
knowledgeable than I am, and that's really that's intimidating and slightly off-putting.
I love that you find Wester both endearing and annoying. That's pretty great.
Yeah.
So, who annoyed you the most, Wester? What did they do?
It's a toss-up there. I think I'm gonna go with Vaunt, though.
Okay.
I think with your new Tinker thing, like I think you've now gotten sort of fidgety with small mechanical things and bits of like metal and stuff that you have in your pocket just as a coping mechanism for this weirdness. And I think that's just that clacking is getting to me.
Yeah, I'm constantly like fidgeting with the little lock picks.
Yeah.
It's kind of like my worry beads.
Yeah. Now you've all had some time to sit and stew and introduce yourselves to each other and talk a little bit about where you're from. And so you kind of know each other a little bit better at this point, that you've had a chance to rest. Someone comes upon your camp. It's a group of these brutish warriors. Okay. They're not holding their weapons. They're just, secured to their bodies. But you see them, a group of them kind of comes out of the forest towards you. But they don't look hostile. What do you do? Well, they don't look hostile, but they're, they are big, brutish things with necklaces made out of ears and things like that.
Hello, friends. What brings you here? Who was on watch?
I thought that was you.
So, one of these brutes kind of shoulders their way through, and they're a little bit taller than the others. And as they get closer, you see a lot of them have these ritual scars and tattoos all over their bodies. And, they're wearing these trophies that looks like, they have necklaces and bracelets and things like that. And they're interwoven with little bits of fingers and ears and things like that seem to be, maybe taken from their fallen foes or something like that. But this larger one who shoulders their way through, you also notice that they have a bionic arm, right? One of their arms is like this sort of metal thing that's been jammed into their body. They kind of look like they're the leader here, and they approach you for
bionics are, but yeah, that looks weird.
Because they think that you're the leader, obviously. right? Because you're the one who's addressed them.
I try to act impressed and respectful.
and they say, we were very impressed with your survival against that death orm. That was quite an impressive feat. Not many have met a death orm and lived. Tell me, are you kith or non-kith?
Can't you tell by our actions?
You're going to want to answer this one carefully.
Obvious.
Huh? What'd you say? Sorry.
I said, can you not tell by our actions? Have we not met you as friends?
I have met non-kith that have been great warriors, and I've met kith that have been great warriors.
We are obviously fellow kith.
Oh, that is good to hear. You definitely have a strange appearance. I must believe that you have come from the pyramid of the Ascended Master, and you are his servants.
That is so. Have others come before us?
Well, yes. Some were kith and some were non-kith. But since you are kith, that must mean that you wish to join our band and to fight against the non-kith, their simple-minded ways.
How many are there?
In this group, there's probably like 10.
Fergus, just go with it. They probably have food.
Yes. Yes. Please show us to your base, and we will see what we can do to help you out.
Aha! Glorious. So we're going to sort of smash cut a little bit to you traveling over this overland to get to their base. They tell you that they are of the great house Katsist, and that they are the only true kith, and anyone else who would claim that they are kith or non-kith. And they tell you a little bit about them, their traditions and things like that, and certain things that are taboo. For example, it's very important for the kith that when they kill their foe, they must eat them, cannibalize them, because that's the only way that you can make sure that their spirits don't return as vengeful ghosts. So it's sort of a respectful thing.
Sensible.
So since you are kith, obviously you'll end up be doing the same thing, right? It's against the rules for any kith to loot from the dead of something that somebody else killed. So you take what you own and things like that. And then they have all these scars and tattoos that represent the various battles and things that they've experienced. And they tell you something very useful. They tell you about the secret of moon milk. Moon milk is a sort of milk that is taken from a certain mushroom, and that helps combat against the effects of the weirdling sun. So if you get your hands on some moon milk, or if you see this particular kind of mushroom, you'll be able to harvest some, and that will help you get through the day. And they share some with you along your travels and things like that. It's good. It's mildly intoxicating, things like that. So you arrive at their home base, right? There's a palisade.
Come on, great library.
Made of woody stalks that's sort of surrounding this place. You see there's sentries mounted on the battlements, and they're carrying banners and things like that. and they tell you that this is the castellum of the Great House Katsist. And you're welcome to gear up and get ready to go on there. Now that they have some new allies, that they're going to go and face the non-Kith at their home and destroy them utterly. Finally,
Before that great battle, my allies and I would like to pay our respects to the. This is like an ancient structure.
no, it seems more like a makeshift. They sort of built this camp.
Me and my allies would like to confer on our strategy and ritual perform our rituals.
Yes.
And I go back to them. It looks like we're going to be part of a battle.
I don't want to judge there, Fergus. I don't know you. You don't know me. But really, that seems like some terrible negotiating there.
It wasn't really a negotiation. And, I don't know. If you want to, if you think you can, you're welcome. I will document your fate faithfully. Good or bad. Do you want to tell them that we're not going?
No, they seem really into the idea now and also well armed. So maybe we'll just sort of go with it for now, I guess.
One additional detail, too, that they shared with you. Part of the reason why they're locked in this battle, not just because they're, subhuman non-Kith that must be destroyed, but also they have in their possession a very powerful greenstone, and that their masters of the House Katsist want that greenstone for their purposes. They didn't really know what a greenstone was, but they weren't too worried about it.
Yeah. So, well, why do they? I'd ask, what are your plans for the greenstone?
So, I'll tell you a little bit about your surroundings, right? You're in this sort of roundish shaped place, camp. There's little huts that are sort of makeshift, made about, right? Everyone here looks like a warrior, right? The women who are like suckling newborns, they have clubs and spears and axes and things like that too. There's a central tower, right, that looks like a bunch of stalks sort of leaning up against this structure. And in front of that is what they call the bleeding yard. And they have a bunch of whipping posts sort of set up where mostly looks like their tribespeople are tied to. And they're just being whipped and tortured and things
Kith
like
are being
that.
whipped or non?
Kith are being whipped. Well, they decided to go against the clan. And this is their punishment. And there's some ritual executions. And occasionally they bring in some prisoners. And you see that there's a couple of prisoners who are tied up to these posts that aren't of the same species or race as these Kith. But
maybe travelers like us?
Maybe, but it's sort of hard to tell because they were not as... they didn't have as much endurance as the other warrior Kith, and they've sort of been tortured to a bloody mess. It's a little bit hard to tell. They're not going to be able to talk to you. But you can approach one of these warriors, tortured, or otherwise, and ask about that stuff if you want.
Does anyone else have ideas? So I've hogged some of the spotlight.
I don't know. I'd be curious to like poke some of the Kith and at least find out like rumors or fantastical theories they have about the greenstone or why their leaders want it.
The green stone, it possesses great power. Our champions are provided even small shards, and with it they can power weaponry of amazing ability. But a whole stone, who knows what you could power with that? Only the masters up in their tower would know such secrets.
Do they hold seminars? Do they have office hours?
Oh, the only way one could hope to meet with an ascended master would be to become one yourself by, you know, achieving great worth in battle, obviously.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, I was just making sure that y'all did it the same way that we did it. Yeah, that's definitely it.
Yes, you are Kith after all. So
Yes.
Are there other great structures, other great towers?
Well, I don't know if you could call House Reagan Tor's temple a great structure, but it is rather large, and they do have a few soldiers, but they are not kids. They are beneath us.
Was it built by the masters?
Oh, indeed. Indeed. A long time ago.
So out of character, this House Rhaegar is their enemy, or their
Yeah. Reagan Tor. Oh,
Reagan.
that's supposed to be.
all right. So yeah, I like to aside to the party. I'm like, maybe we need to find the we need these artifacts of the ancient masters, and their structures, and maybe we can figure out some way to return home to a more sensible planet. But right now we may need these quaint village folk to help us out with that.
And that is sort of punctuated by the sounds of screaming and whipping. These quaint village folk. Vaunt, you can see that this tower has some guards around it, but you could probably find a way to sneak in if you wanted to. But you are sort of coming to the correct conclusion here about these greenstones and their powers.
Mhm.
Sort of, I hate to, spoil the fun, but yes, it's your ticket home if you get one.
Maybe what we should do, and Vaunt, I'll secede to your expertise here, is convince our host that he needs to that while they're fighting, we sneak in to the tower, presumably to take the great stone for what are these people for the Kith, but also maybe to learn what we can learn.
I think that sounds like our best bet. We can't afford to be too friendly in these situations. We need them to provide a distraction, get everybody out of the tower while we go in, take the stone.
So the plan is that you will sneak into Reagan Tor's structure while they're having a battle.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they think that that's perfectly reasonable. So let me describe what that looks like a little bit. You join the war party. They cover you in dyes and tattoos, and they do strange rituals. You travel back across these deserts and these rolling violet dunes, these, giant mountain peaks. It's a hard march, but they seem to treat you with respect and honor as Kith, and as, guests to this planet, allies in their endless war. And you come to, they tell you that they're almost there, right? That you've almost reached their camp. When you discover, you see over this ridge that it's not the same sort of structure, of a palisade and huts and things like that. No, it's a ziggurat that is actually borne upon the backs of hundreds of other kith, right? And you see that's slowly moving across the sand, and this giant stone pyramid temple is being carried by all of these kith slowly crawling across.
I imagine they set it down to fight.
Well, surrounding them is another group
Oh.
of kith, and they're kind of guarding it and wandering around.
That might present a problem.
Well, they go down and they start the battle, and it's two huge armies coming against each other. Some of these champions have ray guns and they're shooting each other. Some have giant swords and things like that. But you have already figured out this plan, and you managed to sneak around this whole combat and find yourselves on the steps of this ziggurat. And above you, you see this giant black plume of smoke that you'd seen in the distance coming up out of the ziggurat is actually this giant smoky city in the sky, a castle made of black smoke. So we smash cut a little bit. Is everybody still on the same page here?
Wow, you guys, that was the oddest trip through two armies and up a man-carried ziggurat into a smoke sky in the castle that I've ever been on.
Definitely getting a good sketch of that.
Yeah, that's...
Wester, you want to stand in the scene for scale?
We're sneaking past an army. I really don't know that we have. Okay, fine. Just a couple of character sketches. Just do it quick.
And
I'm very good at standing heroically.
This is also me wanting us to get to a fun place because we have 30 minutes left.
Sure.
Yep.
Up the steps, there's this large brazier of look like animal fats and things like that that has this fire that's creating this smoke. But as you walk closer, a set of stairs descend from this smoky black city and lead right to your feet.
It's not ominous.
That looks trustworthy.
Yes, I'm. So like they literally like came out of the smoke and landed there, or we just is it just
are they made of smoke?
Yeah,
it's made of smoke, but it's solid enough that you can step on it.
I'll lead the way up the stairs, carefully keeping an eye out.
I'll go after Wester. Yeah, I'll go after Wester since I don't like looking like I don't know what I'm doing.
I mean, if the magical greenstone is anywhere, it's going to be in the impossible castle in the sky.
Well, right? Of course.
Well, let's just do this then. I step on after.
Yep. The cop in King Arthur's LSD court. So as you ascend up the stairs, you get to the top, a floor, and the stairs sort of close up behind you. And yeah,
how are we getting down?
Good question. The walls, the floor, are all made of smoke. It almost looks like an abandoned city where you're at, right? And you can see, if you look off in the distance, you see minarets and spires and towers and things like that made of smoke. That's about it. What do you want to do from here?
It's strange that the Reagan Tor don't seem to populate this city or use their advantage of height. Maybe they can't get up here. Maybe something especially in allowed us to come in.
This could be their version of the tower that not many people are allowed into.
That's true. There was no one in that other tower, but the doors were closed. I'm going to consult my book. Drawing the spires and the gardens, balconies and stuff. And I'm hoping to learn where I should go, what I should do here. This is my vision.
So, as you are communing with your god and start to feverishly scribble, again, strange things start to happen on the page. You draw these spires, but then you look back and it's in a different place on the page than it had been before. And they're moving around. It seems they're not sticking in one place.
It's very annoying.
And you drawn an archway before, but then you look back and it turned into a door. And you just keep scribbling like that until you just find. You look back at the page, and all you've drawn is an X.
I'm starting to think that we shouldn't be here.
I'm starting to think you may not actually be an artist.
That's not me saying this.
I could draw
I'm
an
thinking
X.
it's a bit late to be having doubts about being here.
Sure.
There's not like a big X somewhere in this scene, is there?
No, not that you can see. And as you start to explore, the layout seems kind of confusing. You go one way, it's a dead end. You turn around, it's a dead end, and then you don't recognize that archway being there before, and you kind of go through there.
Oh crap! I try to find the way back to where we came in.
Okay. Well, how about roll plus wisdom for me?
So I think maybe this is a trap. That is a 7.
A 7. Okay. So, as you're wandering around trying to find your way, you actually get separated from everyone else. But you notice that as you travel farther away from your companions, it seems as if some of these things you're looking for are starting to lose focus, right? That the walls don't have as much texture and detail. You can't push your hand through it or anything, but it just doesn't seem the same way. Some of those towers you're looking at seem a bit, foggier or mistier. So you're starting to get some clues here. But as you're going this way, something materializes from out of the wall. And it looks like a inky black figure. And it's wielding a sword that's made of the same smoky material, right? Can you roll the die of fate for me real quick?
Is that just a D6?
D6. I want to see what it
Five.
thinks of you. Oh, a 5. So it takes its sword and it puts it in a sheath, right? And it whispers to you and says, "It is good that you have come alone. Elil is waiting for you." And then it sort of disappears.
Right. Did it indicate a direction?
It kind of turns from you and goes straight.
I will cautiously follow it.
Okay, so we'll cut back to you in a second. The other 3 of you, you're still together. What are you all doing now?
And we've done the thing where we've, realized that, the walls are smoky. We can't really...
Poking a wall.
Yeah, we can't really like mark the walls. We've gotten separated from Fergus. And it's
Yeah.
and that reduces the number of people I'm alone with a law enforcement officer with. And so Zach could go off the handle at any minute and just arrest me. So we can't really mark the walls. We can't really get a sense of where we're going. Everything seems to shift around us. Is that kind of the impression we're getting?
Mm-hmm. But there are some towers and second story type places you could go and see if you get a higher look or something like that.
I am getting.
Well, we're already high enough up. What's another flight of stairs?
I held up my finger. I was just like, they know we're here. They know what they're doing to us. They invited us here. Am I wrong? I look at Wester and Zach. Am I wrong that they know we're here?
So you say that, and you hear from the walls, as if it's coming from the walls, laughter, kind of a deeper type laughter, as you say this out loud.
Yeah, you may have a point.
So I look around and I puff my chest out, trying to look as important and as rakishly handsome as I can possibly make.
Tussle your hair a little bit more.
I tousle my hair a little bit more, and I insist. I must insist that if you want to play games, we're willing to play them. But if you want to see what we can do for you, we'll need to have an actual conversation.
Can I hear where the laughter is coming from, or is it just like omnipresent sort of thing?
Yeah, all around you.
If you want to play games, we're willing to play and win. But if you want to have an actual conversation and see if there's some business we might be able to do, we'll need to, have a chance to have it.
So then we cut back to Fergus. Do you follow that shade?
Yes.
As you follow it, you see getting even more separated from your companions. Things are starting to lose even more focus. The things around you are starting to have less detail. The little spirals that were in the columns are now just smooth, sort of thing like that. And you
worried about my footing, yeah.
You come to a very simple platform, a very simple chair. And from this spot, you can actually see down the battlefield, this horrible range of corpses and this river of blood and all these things. But here, sitting at this chair, is a very shapely woman who her skin is completely glossy black obsidian. Right. She says, "We don't have long to talk. Soon they will discover what my father is trying to do. I need to escape from here. Can I trust that you will help me?"
I bow down, and say, of course, my lady. What can I do to assist you?
My father has kept me here, imprisoned me here in this castle. And you must destroy it so that I may be free.
How would we destroy it?
The green stone is what maintains this illusion. It's what maintains this castle. Without it, it will fail, and I will be free.
Is it located here in the castle? And can you lead me to it?
Cut back to our other three companions. A man emerges from the wall. He says, "Oh yes, there will be plenty of time for negotiation, but I'm still having fun with you all. What could you offer me in form of entertainment?"
If you give me a week or two, I could work up a really compelling and educational animal act.
Intriguing.
What kind of entertainment are you normally looking for?
I'm just thousands of years upon this dying planet. No one left with grace or dexterity. No one left with intellect. It gets rather boring. Anything new will please me.
Someone know a joke?
Is this guy? Is he like look smoky like the rest of the castle, or does he look solid?
Shiny black skin, much more solid than the rest of the structure now. And as he solidifies, you see even that the walls become a little bit more grainy.
Right. I'm gonna grab him by the throat.
Oh. Now this is entertainment. And as you grab his throat, his body turns back into smoke, and he sort of just kind of flies through your fingertips back into the walls. And as soon as he recedes, 3 other figures come out with smoky black swords. One has a pole arm. And you just got yourself into a fight. So they're coming at you with swords and pole arms. How are you responding?
I'm gonna draw my gun and start shooting.
I'm going to tumble away, try to hide against the smoky in the immaterial smoky walls. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Zach. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
All right.
Well, I've got your plan. Wester, I've got your plan. I have Vaught's plan. Wester, what's your plan?
So as I sort of see Vaunt backing up, I'm gonna toss him. I think it looks like a little metal ring, but it's got a big red button on it, and I'll just sort of like mouth the button and point at them. You'll figure it out. It's an animal trap. It's easy.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna try and back up Zach and make him look real intimidating to these guys.
Okay. Zach, roll dexterity for me.
Right, re-roll selected. That's what.
Zach, I was going to say, Zach, if you're using those pip dice, I've noticed that none of them roll over a 3. I was going to write Shane about roll for your party that we've gone many rolls, and it's almost statistically improbable that none of those pip dice have rolled higher than a 3.
Roll a numeral die for me, just in case.
Pro tip.
I was about to shoot Shane a note that I actually opened a room a while ago and just rolled a bunch of them, and none of them rolled. In 15, 20 different rolls, none of them rolled over a 3.
How do I roll not pip dice then?
You see the D6 and D6P. The P is the pipped one.
All right. So that's okay. 2d6 green.
Did you do better?
It is better. And it is a roll above a 3.
Oh boy.
Oh, Zach.
Fergus, a bullet comes flying your way. Through the smoke. D6 plus 1 for me, please.
D6 plus. Oh, for fate die, I guess.
This is damage.
This is getting shot
well,
in
I
the
rolled
face.
a 1, so 2.
Oh, cool. It only grazed you. But you see...
That's the benefit of carrying thick books on your person.
Elil
And
reaches out
chainmail.
to you, though, and she says, "No, you must stay separated. It's the only way you'll be able to break the illusion. Don't run off to them yet. But maybe take cover." And she she summons up this little half fence of smoke that you can hide behind. You were going to try to run away, Vaunt?
Vaunt is actually
Hide?
trying to kind of push himself into the smoky wall so he can sort of like catch them off guard as they turn their attention to so it's trying to stealth, like, since the walls are sort of immaterial and smoky.
Yeah. Now that these 3 soldiers have come out, the walls are starting to lose some of their strength. But you're going to have to hold your breath.
Okay.
So roll plus Constitution.
Okay.
But your stealth skill can apply here.
Okay. Oh, that's very bad. Got a 2.
Okay.
But you have your skill, so that bumps it up.
Oh, I do have skill. It is always a success. Since I'm skilled in stealth. It is also always a partial success since I'm skilled in stealth, but there's always a worse consequence.
So it's a little bit thicker than you had expected. And were you planning to leap out? What were you going to do?
I was going to wait till they turned their attention away from where I was hiding, and then sort of raise my gun and aim. But now that Wester gave me this weird thing with a red button, I was gonna use that name.
Okay. So they're not paying attention to you. They're only paying attention to Wester and Zach. But something else is paying attention to you. And as you go to, raise your arm to aim at these things, you feel the walls kind of thicken around you. So you're going to have a choice here. You can have enough time to get out of the wall. But of course, that's going to draw the attention of at least one of these things. Or
Right.
you can have enough time to shoot your gun, but you're going to have to take some damage, or your ring, from the smoke kind of crushing you.
I point at the one that's closest to Zach, that seems to be coming towards Zach, and I depress the button on the ring.
Okay.
The way Wester showed me.
And I think there's like a track along the other side of it from you that opens up along the ring and sort of spins out and spits out an electro net. It's not a weapon, so I don't think it's going to do damage, but it's an animal trap, so it's something that would hopefully stun or incapacitate one of them.
Sure. So that's exactly what happens. This net comes and falls on them, but the shock, it starts to ionize this smoke, and it's actually, due to the weird chemistry that's happening, is dispersing. So the walls are starting to lose more form, but some of this material is drawing around to you to kind of crush you. right? You're kind of stuck in its grasp.
Mhm.
So take d6 plus 2 damage. If that's
Two
happening.
rolls.
And the room you're in now, it's sort of turned now into just
Oh,
a
it's
tower.
so great that there's these go above a.
Yeah, roll pip dice for damage.
So you have an opportunity here, Fergus. You can see them off in the distance. They might even be in shouting distance. But you see poor Vaunt is kind of getting carbonated here. What are you going to do?
So she has I'm not like being led to the green sphere yet, right? Or because like
Kind of.
I think maybe best strategy is to deal with the source of the problem. Am I supposed to destroy this sphere or just take it?
If you take it from its location, it will not be able to power it.
I look to my friends and I'm like, they and I look to Elil, and I say they're risking a lot for us. If I do this thing for you, can you send us home?
Yes. Once the greenstone is yours, you can have it. My
My
father will be very cross, though, as you can see.
then yeah, I'm gonna throw my voice to Wester basically and say, hold fast and maybe I can help you. And I'm going to follow Yilil to the greenstone.
Okay. So you hear that, Wester. Elil stands up. Her chair sinks back into the ground. And she creates just a path of smoke leading away from the city. Out over, hundreds of feet in the air.
Oh, crap.
She just starts running that way.
I follow.
Okay. As you keep going, the path gets narrower and less strong. But where you're at, Vaunt, you feel the smoke that's around you, that's suffocating you, start to lessen. Why don't you roll for dexterity for me here? Hundreds of feet in the air, Fergus, to see if you can keep your balance.
Just let me change around some skills. I rolled a 4. I have no dex bonus. I'd want to burn one of my luck.
Well, unfortunately, only Vaunt has that ability. And we only have a few minutes left. So I'm going to say you start to lose your balance here. 100 feet in the air. And Elil stops at a point, and she's just on a tiny little circle, and there's sort of almost like an exclamation point from here, right? And she says, "I'm sorry, but this is the only way." And she narrows the path you're on to nothing but a string. And you're on a tightrope.
But I'm on it still.
You're on it, and hey, you have a walking stick, don't you?
Yep.
So here you are.
Let's see. Wow, that shadow and candle is really paying off. Another dex roll.
We'll cut back to you. Wester, Vaunt, Zach. Vaunt, you're getting free of this wall, but you still have two of these shades that are sort of facing you, and you hear a voice that comes from the floor, and it says, "Elil, do not disobey me. I know better than you. What's happening here?" But these two shades are coming to attack you three. Well, they're not too concerned about Vaunt still stuck in the wall a little bit.
I'm gonna shoot the one that's closest to me.
Yeah, it brings its sword down on you. What do you do?
I'm gonna try and roll out of the way and just fire at the same time.
Okay. You have athletic skills, so go ahead and roll dexterity.
Okay.
While you're doing that, Wester, what do you do?
I've got my rifle out and I'm shooting at the one that's farther away.
Okay. You roll dexterity as well. What'd you get, Rob?
I got 9.
Okay. And that's upgraded to a full success. You're able to roll away from his sword. You bring your gun up. This time you don't shoot anybody. And it just goes right through it.
Okay.
But well, hold on. It's still a success. What did you get, Wester?
There we go. I kept getting double sixes, which was the same that I had before, and I had a hard time believing that. But that's a 6 + 1 is 7.
7. Okay. Do you think you have a skill that applies? Maybe not.
No, I don't think so.
Okay. Same thing happens to you. Bullet goes nowhere, and in fact, your gun jams. But as this is happening, right, the shades just descend back into the floor. And you can look out in the distance, and you actually see poor Fergus on this tightrope as the string he's on is getting thinner and thinner. Fergus, what do you do in this situation? You can't really leap to a closer side. You're just right in the middle.
I think I have to persevere because I can't go back. The string it's just as bad the other way. I would have appreciated a handrail, but yeah, I don't think I've got much more options. I just have to trust in my fate.
Roll dexterity and see if you can hold your balance for a few more moments.
Dice didn't change. Oh crap! They changed. They swapped places.
Oh, so another failure then.
Yes.
You're holding on. You've got your walking stick. You're trying. What are your final words as you plummet?
I hope I wake up.
Very good. As your companion falls very rapidly, the landscape around you changes. The smoke descends back into nothing but a disk. Elil is sent rocketing back towards you. And now, all there is about 8 foot in diameter disk of black, solid smoke. Elil standing there, statuesque woman, glossy black skin. The wall that was around you, Vaunt, has materialized into a man who's holding you by the throat. And from the ground comes a pedestal with a green stone. Man holding you from behind by the throat says, "I am Heian, master of House Reagan Tor, and this was my castle in the sky. Eons ago, when the sun started to fail, our people knew that we were going to die. This was our way of trying to maintain our life, even when society descended into chaos. Here we are now, nothing but our memories instilled into these carbon nanites. I'm sure those words mean nothing to you. But let me explain this. If you take our treasured greenstone, we will cease to exist. Our memories, our lives will fail. But we have an army, and we have weapons. We could help you take House Katsis down. And you could take their greenstone. And we would let you live in a paradise of immortality in our castle in the sky forever. You would never die.
Didn't you just get finished telling us how boring that was?
How
Put
boredom?
my gun. on the greenstone.
How boring do you think the eternal slumber of death is?
At least you're asleep. You were just complaining about how bored you were, and now you're offering us the same thing.
It's all we have. Then Lil speaks up and she says, Father, I can't take another day on this place. Please, release us from this prison. There's a greenstone.
Well, I'm pointing my gun at the greenstone, and I say, "Look, I don't give a damn about your armies, your greenstones, or any of that bullshit. I just want to know how I get back home."
Well, I think you're muted there, Patrick.
I'm with the angry man.
How what I want to do is sort of see if I can make a very, as he's pointing his gun, kind of staring at everybody, drawing the attention, make a very sort of subtle lunge for the greenstone.
Yeah, so I mean, as you guys are talking and explaining this, and as the gun's pointed, he sort of released his hands from your neck, and he's kind of rested them on your shoulders now. I think you could go for it. I want chance of failure here, so just roll 2d6 plus dexterity. We're going to just call this Mad Dash.
That is a 10.
Okay.
Nice.
Well, you were going to succeed anyway. But the consequences for your success would have been worse had you failed.
Okay.
You grab the greenstone and you lunge. And as you remove it from its pillar, the smoke starts to dissipate. Now, you're not 100 feet up in the air, but you are a good 10 feet above the ziggurat. So with your grace and dexterity, as you leap and grab this stone and then start to fall through the non-existent floor, you manage to tumble and land well onto the ziggurat. However, Vaunt was much more prepared than Wester and Zach for this experience. Can I get dexterity rolls for you real quick? I know we're running out of time, but I'm just curious to see.
Oh, that's a 6.
Okay.
I got an 8, and I have leadership, and this is definitely a tense situation, and Zach's right next to me. Can I help him out?
Yes. So you're tumbling down the stairs of the ziggurat.
Stop falling! That's my advice.
And Zach would have fallen right off the edge. But you managed to grab him. But you're still rolling, right? And in fact, Vaught's rolling too, right? A little bit more gracefully, not taking damage. But you keep rolling, and you keep rolling, and colors start to swirl around you as you roll and roll and roll, and strange voices and cackling and screeching and crying are heard. You make it home. You find yourselves in the basement of a tavern, recovering from an insect bite. And how about you, Zach? Where do you end up?
Assuming I end up back where I started, I think I crash into some trash cans in the back alley.
Perfect. Strike. And Fergus, you awaken in the afterlife of your god. We're going to do epilogues here. Before you do your epilogue, I'd like each of you to roll a die of fate and use that to inspire your epilogue. A lower number means things in the future don't turn out too well for you. A higher number means you got something good out of this experience. So whenever anyone's ready, tell me your result and tell, or you don't even need to tell me your result. Just tell me what happens.
I think Fergus, joins Elsprog in his library and contributes what he knows and what he's heard, everything he's known about this new planet, and it's as happy as the afterlife can be for someone.
Very good. A good result on the die of fate, I imagine.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
So I think after this, Wester's become sort of obsessed with this place. Like it's a whole new place to explore, filled with things that no one's ever seen before. So yeah, I think the sort of epilogue for him is like he's a couple years older. He's obviously been through some actually rough things in his life rather than like prepping for his next TV show. I think he has like a bionic leg at this point, and a larger looking version of Sasha with a lot of like cyber work done on this sort of modified cat here. And he's got who knows where from, but just the tiniest sliver of a green shard, and he's walking into a cave in the jungle.
Love it.
I think Vaunt comes to in the basement of the inn. And he hears the people who he got in a fight with upstairs as they turn around from just having, seized control of the safe when he opened it to put his take in. And now they're trying to hold up everyone in the inn. And they're screaming, and there's a lot of yelling, and people are tossing their purses and coin bags towards them. And Vaunt walks up out of the basement, and then just shoots the lead robber. Takes back his portion of the take, and the party at the inn resumes at the level of intensity as it was right before. But of course, Vaunt is strangely wounded, and for some reason has jet black eyes. No more pupil, no more, just smoky gray black eyes.
Oh,
Nice.
very cool.
So I think that shortly after his tumble in the alleyway, Zach was picked up by some mysterious men in black suits, and who had apparently detected some sort of reality disturbance, and took him back to their headquarters for interrogation about this strange world that he visited. And afterwards, he's given a choice. He can like go back to he can be mind wiped and forget everything that happened, or he can help them deal with other incursions like this. And well, you're not fucking with my brain, so.
And then I forget the Men in Black theme song, but that's when that starts playing.
Pretty sure it's Will Smith rapping.
Right.
Here come the Men in Black.
There we go. Man. Sometimes I feel like epilogues are the best part of role playing, and we should just do an epilogue and then call that a game. Man, okay, I had a lot of fun with you folks. Thanks so much for playing.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I really like World of Dungeons, I guess.
I love World of Dungeons. Yeah.
Yeah, that was neat.
I don't much like the dice roller. Maybe I'm just not having the good experience is all.
It didn't work out for me at the end either, but that's what happens.
I am so sorry about your pip die situation, if that was indeed causing you to fail infinitely.
Yeah, I feel like the last update for Roll for Your Party inserted some bugs that weren't there before.
Yeah, the pip die used to work fine. It may just be a glitch introduced. So I'll get on I'll send Shane a message about that. But he may already be aware.
I will definitely keep that in mind. I'm running another session of this tomorrow. So if I get some feedback from you all about how I can make sure that next time is also very fun or even more fun.
I'd say just given the time constraints of a one shot and the sort of like plethora of weirdness that's out there in this world,
right.
Rather than starting in that like abandoned tomb, maybe start in a more dynamic situation, like you land in a house on fire, or you land in between two groups that are about to start fighting, or you land in this tomb but something is rising up out of the lower levels, or something like that. Yeah,
I think starting in the middle, I know the very beginning of Peril on the Purple Planet and never got finished starting kind of in the middle of like where we see the two armies coming together, or the big skirmish at the beginning, also feels very John Carter, because I think he first gets to Mars in the middle of a
big old skirmish.
But yeah, I think framing the opening scene as like, you have 30 seconds to make a decision, what do you do, sets the right sort of pacing for this adventure.
That's a very good idea. I like that.
The only problem I had was when we were talking to the Kith, and I'm terrible with names, but like I wasn't certain. I asked like if their structure was like an ancient ruins, or but like then later on they apparently did have a greenstone. So I don't know. I mean, and I guess they could have built their same fortress and put a greenstone in it, but like I guess I didn't know that they had ancient tech that we could have played with there.
Yeah, so
that guy did have a bionic arm.
I think they did mention that they had a greenstone of their own, but they wanted theirs, the other houses to gain more power.
So yeah.
Spoiler alert for the Casus Castellum. There's this big tower with all these stalks leaning up against it. It's actually like a rocket that they've disguised as a tower.
No!
Wow.
Yeah. and they're all androids and stuff. So if you'd gone into the tower, you would have found all that stuff out. But then these androids would have tried to kill you.
Yeah, literally, my first response was, "We're gonna go pay our respects to the ancient ruins of your masters." But then I was like, "Oh wait, it's just some primitive hovel. Never mind."
Yeah, I didn't foresee the rocket ship, which I think would have been super cool. But I definitely got the sense like, oh, if we'd pushed it, we could have had a similar sort of weird adventure by going into that tower instead of this one.
Yeah, I just didn't pick up on that.
Yeah, there's just so much stuff in the source material.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know how this is like an adventure book as opposed to like a campaign source book or something, because it's like huge hex map and all this stuff. There's a third Greenstone source too.
Well, there's the one we started at too, though it was cracked.
So what you're trying to do is replace that one with a new one. But
Gotcha.
I didn't want to have to narrate. Okay, and then you go back to the tomb and you put it back and you go.
Yeah, that would be a fine epilogue.
Right. So that's why you're trying to get a Greenstone.
Gotcha. But yeah, it's a weirdo world. I liked it.
Cool.
Yeah.
I also really liked your sort of impulse to pull in archetypes and heroes from any sort of time and setting.
Yeah. Did you guys, was that fun or was that too much dissonance to try to work through?
I loved it.
I think it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
I like the sort of sliders conception there.
I think even from like a fantasy role-playing perspective, as adventurers, you don't bat an eye at that. You know, when it's like it's a minotaur, it's a guy with a robot arm. Same difference. They're just weird monster things. People from other planes and other realms.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I need to run because I'm playing World of Dungeons again in a few minutes, and I want to at least get up for a couple minutes.
I would love to hear.
You're playing Turbo as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Yeah,
another slightly weird one. So.
Well, thanks a lot. I'll see you guys later.
Thanks
everyone.
everybody.
Bye, all. That was
See
a
you
great
guys.
game.